industry. And, man, I'm just going to let you go with it for the next couple of minutes because you talk about this deception by design in the second chapter of your book that's coming out pretty soon.
That's correct. So the book is Unspoken Cures, Weight Loss Edition, and the second chapter addresses the food industry and how, in reality, they want you to stay fat. They want to make you fatter. They want you to buy more food, and they have very deceptive ways in order to make you do that. And the way I wrote the chapter, I explained a story. So let's take a walk back to 1999. 2009. Excuse me. In 2009, and I remember when this was going on, there was a push in Congress to begin taxing fast food, taxing sugar-filled food, and essentially create a junk food taxation system. Of course, that never came to fruition. But
it didn't.
The food companies decided they came together in a meeting of the minds, let's say, and it was all of our major multi-billion-dollar food companies in one room. So billions of dollars of revenue were sitting in one room, all the heads, all the CEOs. And, Brian, you have to understand that these guys are normally at each other's throat because they are competing for what they actually have an industry term called stomach share. And stomach share is the share of food that they put into your body as you consume. So they want to have the biggest stomach share of any company of the food you consume. An executive from Pillsbury stood up. This was held at Pillsbury's headquarters. And he said, "Gentlemen, we have an epidemic. We are being blamed for obesity in America. We have major experts that are speaking out, saying that this is no different than the big tobacco scandal. And in fact, obesity could be argued that it's worse than the tobacco issue. And we have some decisions to make on the responsibility that we're going to take for this moving forward, and what we can do to fix this." And the gentleman that was speaking was a 20-year chief of technology for Pillsbury. He had come out with some inventions such as microwavable popcorn and many other junk-type, addictive-type food. So he felt a sense of responsibility for this. And what he did next was invite another executive to lay out a plan. They had thought through a plan on how the food industry was, A, going to take responsibility for what they're marketing, B, limit the amount of sugars, fats, and salts that are used in combination in the foods, and C, actually make all this information visible to the consumer so they can make educated decisions on what they want to eat versus essentially being deceived. And they laid out this entire comprehensive plan, and the CEO of General Mills, which was by far the biggest company in the room, stood up. And you have to realize, too, that this company had just launched Yoplait yogurt the year before, and they added a substantial amount of sugar to it. So much sugar that it had twice as much as some of your leading sugary cereals. So people were eating yogurt in the morning, being marketed as natural and healthy, and they're actually eating more sugar than they would if they just would have eaten a sugary kids cereal. That led to $500 million in sales. So that one product alone, they sold $500 million worth. They had that also that year. In fact, 1 week before this meeting, they launched Go-Gurt, which was another $100 million product. He stood up. So obviously he has a lot to lose. He stood up and said, "Gentlemen, consumers are fickle. Consumers are worried about fat one day, worried about sugar the next day, worried about all these different things. We can't worry about what they're concerned with. And I'm not about to start making food that doesn't taste good just for the health of our customers." And that comment effectively ended the meeting. They all left, and nothing was done. Now, what's been proven since then with additional research. And this is where, it becomes very enlightening to understand this. Brian, the food that's being created in our country is not being created by chefs. It's not being created by flavor experts, by experts that, experts in food. It's being created by scientists, guys in lab coats. People go to work in lab coats to design the food that's being fed to us on a daily basis. And
this has been proven through research, has it not?
It has. There's been entire books written about just this part of what my book is about, and extensive interviews done. There's an expert that he's an expert in what they call food optimizing. And when I first heard about it, I said, okay, well, that must mean, make the food taste as good as it can. Wrong. He designed a computer system that takes every attribute of a food and tests it with test subjects. So people sit in rooms and they tell you about taste, texture, smell, crunch, feel, all the things, all the sensory things you feel as you're eating. And they catalog it based on the user experience. Okay, this sounds more like a web application than it does food, but I'm talking about food. So they take the user experience, they catalog all these data set points, and then they're able to use that data to optimize the food. So if it needs to be crunchier, and what they're doing is they're making it so perfectly addictive that you can't resist actually eating the food. So it's designed,
right.
The food is designed to make you want to eat more and eat more and eat more and eat more. And then what they found was the addictive ingredient was sugar. So they can add sugar into anything. So McDonald's French fries coated with sugar, Prego sauce, tomato sauce. You're thinking you're eating spaghetti sauce that has a ton of sugar. Two full tablespoons of sugar in 2 tablespoons of in the sauce itself. It's completely full of sugar. It's the second ingredient in the list. So they've added sugar to get you and keep you addicted. And what they created is what's called the bliss point. So when a food hits the bliss point, it means they have the perfect combination of the 3 pillars of the food industry: fat, salt, and sugar. And when that is perfect, a food is so addicting that you can't put it down. And they've worked years and years and years developing this. So I thought, okay, well, you know what? This had to be discovery by accident. This type of research, this type of orchestration. And in reality, he was hired out of Harvard first by the United States military to get our military to eat more food while they were deployed. So that's where it all started, is he developed a way to modify the way food was being made so people would eat more. And now his skill sets were used year in and year out by the food industry, because that is a fantastic skill if you're trying to sell food to get people to eat more. Now, diabetes, obesity, all these resulting issues are because people are eating more of these foods that are addicting, and it's killing us. But it's making billions and billions of dollars for the food companies, so they continue to do it year in and year out, hooking you on their food. And then when you get into the additives that don't have to be listed, the genetically modified grains and ingredients that are in food that keep you wanting more because they're nutrient deficient, all these things add up to a perfect storm, even down to profiling. So Coca-Cola, who is a marketing machine when it comes to how they market their sodas, realized that Coca-Cola was being sold more in impoverished areas. So they started marketing heavily to those that are poor, because poor people, according to their data, poor people drink more Coca-Cola. So what they do? They started marketing in very poor areas. And one of the chiefs of marketing had a realization one day as he was rolling out this full-blown marketing campaign, getting people to buy more soda, people that don't have money for anything else. And he said, you know what? He said, you know what? These people need a lot, but a Coke isn't one of them. And he almost quit overnight. He tried to roll out a campaign of getting Coca-Cola out of schools, and it didn't work. He got fired, and now he's applying his expertise to sell healthy snack food, which is actually good. He says he's paying his penance back. Another interesting fact about all this is it affects more than just our standard population. Brian, do you realize that we have the most obese military in the entire world?
Yeah.
And this was something that just blew me away. So in the last 2 years, we've had 15 times the amount of obesity-related discharges, meaning they are too fat to serve because they cannot complete the physical requirements. 15 times in the last 2 years we've had in the last 5. There's over 2,000 servicemen and women who were asked to go home because they could not complete the requirements. Now, obesity is also the single largest reason that 70% of our people going to enlist cannot qualify for military service. So of that, because of our lifestyles, of that now 30% that can make it, 65% of those people cannot pass the prelim initial qualification, physical qualification, to even make it into the military. So our government is concerned because men and women aren't able to fight and serve even when they want to because of obesity. So it's to me, it's kind of ironic because you have one government organization that's turning a blind eye to these food companies that are making billions of dollars making us fat, but then our military is concerned because all these people that are fat now can't fight for us, and we're at a bit of a political pickle. So it's
a political catch-22 is what it is.
Yep, it really is. So all that information is that's just one chapter of what I'm getting out there, and the book isn't written to bash anyone in particular. It's information based on real research. I list sources of everything that I put in the book, so people can go and look on their own. And but it's important before, as you're tackling a problem such as your own obesity or your own weight gain, you have to know why you got there. And that was my mission, is to tell my personal story and explain to people how I got there. Because we have so much bad information in this country. We're taught so many wrong things as we're growing up that we
think, the breakfast habit that we talked about earlier.
Breakfast myth, hey, I'm going to have a healthy yogurt. Yogurt's healthy, right? It has to be healthy. Well, then you find out that you're eating more sugar than a candy bar, but you don't know it. So you're getting deceptively fat because you don't even know what you're doing to make yourself fat. And that leads to being miserable and being helpless because you're doing everything that your parents, your teachers, your officials told you to do to stay healthy, but yet you are fat. And that's the scariest part.
And also, on top of that, as we bring this to a close, you're killing yourself. You're absolutely killing yourself, and that was the first thing that you not only taught me, but a couple of others. And like I told you, I appreciate it. Matt Ryncarz on the line with me, talking deception by design, the exploits of the food industry. And trust me, folks, a week from today, Matt and I are going to talk about this at length and talk about parts of his book at length. Matt Ryncarz, I thank you very much. I look forward to talking to you again. I love the tips that you put. And remember, folks, every Saturday, Unspoken Curious Radio on the Arena Sports Network. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.